Ever wonder what goes into making, like, all those metal parts we see every day? Like, buckle up, this
Mm,
deep dive. We're going deep into mold making.
yeah,
We've got RoleCatcher's Career Guide, and wow, there's some serious info in this, way beyond just like, the usual job description stuff.
definitely. We're talking real deal mold making, the skill, the tough stuff, and all those unexpected things that come with shaping molten metal into, well,
Yeah.
everything.
So not just like a nice little workshop, huh? More like the middle of a crazy foundry. Paint us a picture.
Exactly. Picture it, the noise, the heat, those glowing furnaces, and the mold makers, right there in the thick of it, using these special sand fixes to create the molds, the
Yeah.
ones that'll form all those things, from engine blocks to you name it.
So we're not just dumping molten metal into a sandpit and crossing our fingers,
Yeah.
right?
Not even close. It's all about precision. Think of baking. You got to have the right stuff in the right amounts. Mold makers, they work with silica sand, zircon sand, all kinds, each picked for how it handles heat, how it shapes that molten metal, binders, hardeners. You got to get the mix just right for the right strength and everything.
So like a dash of magic for good measure.
Huh. You could say that. No, but really that's how they make sure a mold can handle all
Yeah.
that heat, all that force, without just crumbling or messing up the final product.
Rollcatcher kept saying hands-on experience is key, didn't they? Like book smarts aren't enough for this gig.
Absolutely. They actually found 80%, a full 80% of employers want experience over qualifications for entry level. They even had this one apprentice talking about their days, getting a feel for the sand mixes, learning about patterns. Those are like the blueprints for the mold.
Yeah.
Just soaking it all up from the pros.
Makes sense, right? Reading about ratios is one thing, but getting your hands dirty, that's the real deal.
Exactly. And speaking of getting dirty, we should talk about where this all goes down. RollCatcher doesn't sugarcoat it. Foundries, they're demanding. On your feet constantly, heavy stuff, and, well, it gets toasty.
Not your average desk job, huh?
Nope. But if you're into physical work, making something real, it's rewarding. You bet.
Sounds like you got to be tough for this kind of work.
Yeah, tough. You said it.
Not for everyone, right?
Not at all. Takes a special kind of person to handle molten metal every day.
Someone who sees what would you call it, the art in it, the power.
That's it, the power.
Yeah.
And speaking of finding those people, RollCatcher, with their AI and all that, really changing how we find jobs. It's not just posting an ad anymore.
Right, like the old days.
Gone. Their AI changes the game for everyone, especially for something like mold making, where, like I said, experience is everything.
Okay, so break it down for us. How does this AI actually work when you're applying for a job?
Okay, so say you're going for that entry-level mold-making job, right? You've got your CV all polished up. Talk about maybe you did woodworking, pottery, anything that shows you're good with your hands, detail-oriented.
Because that kind of stuff translates, right?
Yeah.
Even if it's not metal, it shows something.
Exactly. So you upload to RollCatcher, and here's where it gets wild. The AI, it reads your CV, not just looking for words, but like understanding what you did, what employers want in a mold maker.
So it's like having, what, a recruiter in the system?
Yeah.
Looking at it for you?
Even better, this is beyond human. It takes your CV, compares it to like hundreds of job descriptions, successful mold makers, and tells you, hey, you're missing this, or make this part stronger.
No more guessing games with what employers want.
Gone. And it gets better. It gives you specific suggestions like, hey, add that skill from volunteering, or talk about that machine you used. You wouldn't think of it.
Perfect for someone just starting out. They might not know how their skills fit in.
Exactly. And that's not all. RollCatcher, they take it further with their interview practice.
Now we're talking. Tell me more about this.
You aced the application right. Got the interview, congrats. But now you're nervous.
Because who isn't? Interviews are scary.
The worst. But RollCatcher, to the rescue. Their AI, it lets you record yourself answering those typical mold-making questions like, tell me about a time you solved a problem, or how do you make sure your work is perfect? All that.
And it's not just going to, like, sit there and nod along while you stumble through it.
Nope. This is the cool part. It listens to your answers, how you sound, even your body language, and tells you what to improve.
Wait, it can tell if you're, like, fidgeting or whatever on a video call.
You bet. It picks up on everything, those little things that matter to an employer.
This is like next level stuff, a whole interview coach in your computer.
Exactly. And, get this, a lot of it is free. They want everyone to have a chance, no matter what.
I like that. Making things fair, everyone gets a shot.
Exactly. And it's not just about getting the job either. They've got tons of info on different mold-making careers or even totally different paths.
So if you start as a mold maker, then decide to do something else later on, your skills still count.
100%. The stuff you learn, being precise, solving problems, knowing materials, that's useful everywhere.
That's good to know. Like, it's not a dead end. You've got options.
Exactly. It's a journey.
Yeah.
And RoleCatcher, they have this career compass thing. It's awesome. Shows you all these related fields. Foundry work, metal casting, even pattern making, those guys who make the intricate designs we talked about.
So it's like being a mold maker. You're like this, I don't know, a block of metal yourself. You can be shaped into all sorts of things.
I like that. Like a blacksmith, right? They got to know their metals, and a mold maker, they can use their skills in so many ways.
It's about making those connections, seeing how, even if the job titles sound different, it's still about precision, materials, all that.
Exactly. And that brings us to something we got to talk about. 3D printing. Everyone's wondering about it.
Right. The big question is 3D printing going to replace mold makers?
Some people worry about that, yeah. But here's the thing. 3D printing, it's actually pushing mold making forward in crazy ways.
Okay, now you've got me listening. How so?
Think about it. 3D printing, you can make these super complicated patterns, cores, the insides of a casting,
Yeah.
Things you couldn't even do by hand.
Stuff that would be like insanely hard the old way.
Exactly. So it's not replacing anyone. It's giving mold makers new tools to do even more detail, more innovation.
Man plus machine, not man versus machine.
That's it. And that's why RoleCatcher talks about always learning. Mold makers got to keep up with tech, new trends, all that.
Just like back to that metal block, you got to keep shaping your skills to stay on top.
For sure. The demand, it's there, but the work itself is going to keep changing.
So future mold makers, they might be designing on computers just as much as they're using sand and stuff.
Now you're getting it. It's both. The old ways, AD, the new tech, all combined.
Wow, this has been fascinating. From like the sweat of the foundry to high-tech 3D printing, all while figuring out what it takes to be a mold maker, what other jobs are out there.
And don't forget AI helping you every step of the way.
Right.
RoleCatcher, it's like a secret weapon for anyone wanting to get into this.
Absolutely. So, listener, if you're thinking about mold making, we hope this got you fired up. It's old school, but it's the future too.
It's about precision, about rolling with the punches, about loving to build stuff.
And who knows, maybe you'll be the one inventing the next big thing, metal masterpieces made with both your hands and awesome tech.
Now that's a career worth having.
This has been The Deep Dive. Until next time, stay curious and dream big.